Today I have a new torch in for testing, the Klarus G20. This is just to show you what you get included in the pack. There's a micro USB charging cable for the torch, a spare O-ring seal, and there's a hand strap. I'm moving in closer now to show you the holster that you get. This is made by Klarus, so it fits the torch perfectly. There's a D-ring on the back and a belt strap with a Velcro fastener with a front fastening Velcro patch as well. Now the front and back are padded, but the sides and bottom are not. Still, it offers good protection for the torch and it's an excellent fit. Looking at the front section of the box, we'll see some of the information and specifications. Range up to around 150 meters with the CREE XHP70. On the back you have the power ratings and run times. They're approximate for the various modes. We have 4 power modes with this in total, as well as an SOS and strobe. These are just a guide, but they should give you a reasonable idea of the runtime and performance. Now do take note, at the bottom you can only use the 26650 type lithium cell. You can't use any other types with this torch, so bear that in mind. You can use different brands and other makers as well. Onto the instructions. These detail the operation of the torch and they're quite well laid out. I didn't have any problems at all. Now do note you have a one-touch turbo and a one-touch low, as well as a lockout function, so you can lock out the functionality of the side button and prevent it from accidentally coming on. Onto the torch body, we have a hardened anodized aluminium exterior. As you'd expect for the price, this is a premium torch. The finishing is very good. There are no obvious flaws at all with the torch. Now the side button also doubles as a battery level indicator. You'll see it coming on orange there. That means the battery power is somewhere below 70% to 30%. Now that will go on to red if it reaches a level below that, to let you know that you need to charge the torch. Nice fit and finish on this, no complaints at all. There is a slot here which is covered with a silicone flap for the micro USB port for charging. On the bottom you have the second button here, and there are also slots where you can attach the wrist strap. I like the fact that you have 2 buttons on this torch. That's something that you didn't have on the R50 that I also looked at recently. Now looking at the side here, you'll see that the button is raised slightly. Personally, I would have made that a flat button, so you'll probably end up using the lockout function on this because you can turn it on by accident. Now we have a orange peel effect on the reflector. You'll see the LEDs in there. Battery location in this torch is at the top, so you remove the head and then you pull out the cell. Now this tested fractionally under the rated capacity, but it was near enough for me to say that the label capacity is actually accurate with this torch. Inside the torch and on the torch head you have springs, so there's no battery movement. Now this is just an example of the torch in low power. It will dim the light and the red light will come on too. Now charging the torch, I found that I couldn't get the quoted up to 2 amp speed. I was getting just over 1 amp, and I was used a few different power adapters for that. So I'm not unhappy with the charging speed, but it didn't quite live up to the claims of super turbo fast charging. As you'd expect, water resistance. Make sure you have the flap shut. So running water and even submersion in water isn't a problem for the torch. It's completely water resistant and sealed against dust and moisture. Whilst I'm demonstrating outside the power levels of the torch, I'll wrap up with a summary conclusion. In comparison to the R50, the torches are quite similar. I would say the one disadvantage with the Klarus for me is the raised side button. I found that I did hit off of that and I had to use the lockout more than I would have done on the O-Light. On the other hand, the Klarus offers a number of advantages over the R50. It has a slightly higher capacity battery. They both use the same cell type. The power output is very similar between the two. I would say the Klarus has a slightly wider beam spread. If you look at the roof here, you'll see it spreading out quite nicely. That's down to personal preference. There is one area that perhaps swings it for me, apart from the included holster, which wasn't in the O-Light, is the fact that you can use other brands and makers' batteries for the in-torch charging. That's something that you couldn't do with the O-Light. So personally, I would slightly edge more towards the Klarus purely on that aspect.